Hey everybody, welcome to Comics with Bueller. As always, I am Bueller, and as you can see, I have a guest here with me, Jonathan Hedrick. How you doing today, buddy?
Good, buddy. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, awesome. You know, we've been friends for a little while now. We'll kind of get that a little bit, but I want to let you know that you're the first creator I've had on here for a while. The last creator I had on here was Rob Liefeld.
Oh, wow.
And that did not go well. So,
why am I not surprised?
Yeah, it actually never even saw the light of day. So
okay.
You have a high standard to live up to, my friend. So because this video is actually going to make it out there to the people that are watching right now. So
all right.
Yeah, so it should be a lot of fun. But let's get into it right away. Let's talk about the book that you got coming out. It's unfortunately got delayed from what I heard. So it's not coming out like the first week or second week of December.
Right.
But let's talk about that book, Dream Master, really quick. And I'll give you the floor. Why don't you tell me about that book, Dream Master?
Yeah, so Dream Master is coming out from Blackbox Comics. I'm writing it with Luigi Baricelli is the artist on it, and he's paired with Ruben Cardo, who's the colorist, and DC Hopkins is the letterer. And it's an awesome team. And the elevator pitch for Dream Master is essentially, imagine if Freddy Krueger was a hero. So in this world, which it's 99% taking place in the dream world, a very fantasy-driven but darker, nightmarish world. And there's this unsung hero called the Dream Master, who's cursed with protecting people during their dreams while they're asleep, because you can actually die in these dreams. So he's fighting off your nightmares for you, and when you wake up, you have no clue what happened, but he is still in that world saving another dreamer. So it's a really cool concept, and we get to like just jump to all these different odd settings and worlds. Pretty much every issue just goes from one setting to a polar opposite in a page turn, and it's just a lot of fun to write. And the artwork is just fantastic. You know, it just blows me away every time I see pages coming back. You know, the covers are all fire, and I think people are going to be really surprised at like the caliber of this comic book coming from a small press indie, team, small press indie publisher.
Yeah, and let's talk about Blackbox Comics, because obviously, as people know who are watching, I'm affiliated with Blackbox Comics. I've been working with them for quite a while, and you're right. They're a very small independent company. Dimitri's really the guy, you know, who's behind the scenes there, and he has a passion for comics. And you know what? This was kind of his idea, and he presented it to you. When you first heard it, was it right up your alley? Where you're like, "Oh man, this is it! I can do this."
Yes, I got about a page-and-a-half synopsis from Demetrius a little over, I would say, a little over a year ago. And you know, when him and I first talked, when we were bouncing things off each other for him to understand what my strengths are and the genres I'm interested in, and horror was really the one that we were all leaning towards. And when he presented me Dream Master a few months later, I was like, yes, this is it. You know, I got like I said, a page-and-a-half, and the first thing I thought of was Stephen King's The Dark Tower. I was like, I'm a huge fan of King, and The Dark Tower is one of like my favorite like epic stories. I love the novels, the comic books. You know, the movie was okay, but there's so much world that King built with that, and I'm like, I could do something like that with Dream Master, where we follow a hero who's lost in a way, not just in his spirit, but where he's at in his life. And then, you know, you run into these oddball situations, and that there seem to be impossible scenarios to get out of, but he does it somehow in smart, intelligent ways where, you know, we're not just making up things as we go along. We are following rules in this world that we built. So it's just really fun, and I'm glad that it was handed to me.
So the Dream Master character himself, obviously, he's there to defend people in the dream world. Do we actually get to get some backstory on the Dream Master character as time goes on?
Yes, we were spoon-fed little nuggets of information, and we're doing that just to kind of give you, the reader, the same feeling as the Dream Master too. You're learning it at the same time as the character, and you're not going to know any more than Dream Master knows, and vice versa. So you're like, it's coming across organically, issue by issue, and it's going to take a while to actually understand his whole backstory. And that's what we hope. We want the readers to come along with us on this journey, and want to come back for that second arc, that third arc, for as long as we can keep it going for.
So this is a long-term storytelling that you're doing. We're not just looking at a few issues here and there. This is something that you're going to be working on for a while. So if somebody's looking for a new series to jump on board, that's going to be more than 2 or 3 issues, this is the one that they can do, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. The first arc is going to be 5 issues over 5 months. We're already working on the second volume right now. And I haven't been told to stop turning in scripts. So as long as, I still have the green light for that, I'm going to keep pumping them out.
That's awesome. And how do you like having because I know you've done all sorts of independent books that you've had to fund yourself. Yes. There's a lot of work involved when you do that. I know this for a fact.
Yes.
This one, we have a Blackbox Comics taking care of that for you. Right. What's it like to have that freedom and not that burden on your chest that you've had on other titles?
Yeah, it's a huge relief. The project management side of it is so time consuming, and not just the financial aspect of it too, but I was able to take a step back from that and just enjoy the writing process. And then, I wouldn't have been able to assemble the art team that we have on here. I mean, Luigi's phenomenal. I wasn't familiar of his work until, I was paired with him. And then I coincidentally backed a Kickstarter that he was the artist on when I found out, right before I found out who he was. So I was like, whoa, it's that guy. That's awesome. But yeah, I wouldn't have been able to do that. So, and then all the variant covers that we're going to have, it's something I just would not have been able to financially done myself. And then on top of it, just the time it requires to put it all together, it just, yeah, it's really, I want to do this more often. I want to be able to take a step back and just focus on writing and a lot less project management.
So let's talk about Luigi real quick, and his artwork and stuff. I've had the privilege of seeing issue number 1. I've read it as well. Really enjoyed it. I'm going to do my review on here very soon. Since the book was delayed a little bit, I got a little bit more of a window to do that. But Luigi's artwork, I've seen all his artwork, and I've seen artwork for other issues as well. Yes. I wish I could show the images here, but obviously I'm not allowed to show those yet. Some of that stuff, I kid you not, I'm sitting there looking at this stuff, and I told this, it looks like Nightmare Before Christmas meets Friday the 13th meets Alice in Wonderland.
Yes.
Or Nightmare on Elm Street. Yeah. And there's panels in the book, and I'm like, that's a cover right there. Yes. That's a cover right there. And I'm like, and it's just a regular panel. Right. His artwork and the color palette, and the color is done by Ruben, I believe.
Yep, Ruben Cordo. Yep.
Yeah, and it's just awesome. And that's one thing about Blackbox Comics. Their color palette that they use for their books is really nice. And throughout all their books, they have a great color palette that they use. The art is really good, and the stories are really great. I love the paper quality and all that good stuff. But you've had the chance to see all this wonderful artwork. I mean, I'm sure you're amazed like I am.
Absolutely. I mean, Luigi's doing wraparound covers for all the A covers are all wraparounds. I mean, how can you don't get that from Marvel and DC, and each one of them, it's like the way that it combines what's happening in that issue in just these two dynamic bursts of the front and back cover. It's gonna help people get introduced to the book more, and I just hope that they even they crack it open and look inside too to see all his other phenomenal artwork. I mean, when I first wrote the issue, I didn't know Luigi was going to be the artist. So, you know, I was writing it just to whoever was my art direction was just whoever was going to write it. So, for example, there's a scene in issue 1 where I described it as, you know, in this setting, they're climbing these stairs, and it's very MC Escher like. You know, if anyone's familiar with MC Escher, he does these like optical illusions, and Luigi took that and ran with it. So the steps are mattresses, and I didn't see that at first. And I'm like, oh my God. And then I'm like, well, if he did this, what else did he do? And now I'm looking back, and I see these little extra things that he adds, and it wasn't even in the art direction. And it's just, it's a true testament at the creative side of the artwork. You know, he took the art direction and then he added more to it. And yeah, he's just a phenomenal artist, and I'm just so glad I'm working with him on this book.
I heard you mention one time, I think I read an article, you said you like the artwork to kind of tell the story.
Yes.
When you saw this, did you cut back a little bit on your writing because the artwork was telling the story for you?
Yeah, I mean, I try not to, on the books that I produce myself, I try not to overly do splash pages because, one, it feels a little cheap in the storytelling side of it. Also, you know, not every artist can handle 1- and 2-page splashes. But once I saw what Luigi could do, it's like, you know, you write a song and you had no idea Slash was going to be your guitarist. So the next song you write, you make sure there's going to be like an awesome solo in it. So then after I started seeing what Luigi could do, I'm like, okay, I got to get him more splash pages and double splash pages. Now I think there's a double splash in every single issue, with maybe the exception of issue 1. But and my dialogue is maybe 1 caption on those, so people can open it up and they're like, whoa, and it's just very theatrical for a comic book. So yeah, when you have an artist of that caliber, you have to let them, you know, crank it up to 10 all the way.
Well, like I said, there's panels in there that I've seen that look like covers.
Yes.
I even said that to Dimitri. I go, this could be a cover right here. This could be a cover. That's just amazing artwork. And like I said, the color palette as well as the artwork is just off the charts.
Yeah.
I wanted to also hit on something really quick. So there's got to be a good backstory to how this book came together.
Yes.
So I'll let you, then I'll kind of chime in a little bit.
Okay.
But how did this all happen? I mean, this was got to be like a miracle or something like that. I don't know.
like a gift from God or something.
Yeah.
So it was MegaCon 2021, which I believe was in August that year because of, you know, the COVID delays and things like that. And I was there with another publisher. I didn't have too many books out at the time. And I ran into this handsome guy named Travis, who I've already met before at another con. But you and I got to actually sit down and talk a little bit more, you know, since that con was a little larger and multiple days. And, you know, you mentioned how about Blackbox and how they're scouting out creatives, and that you either had or you were going to mention me to Demetrius. And but before the end of the con, I already had a phone call with him in my hotel room, and that's when him and I discussed, you know, what the genres I like to write, what I'm a fan of, what my strengths are, and yeah, we went from there. So yeah, this book actually should be dedicated to you, Travis.
There you go. That's awesome. Yeah. Well, let me kind of share my side of that day, because I mean, obviously, I was a big fan of yours, and we had met, I think, about a year or two before at I think it was called Infinity Con.
That's right. Yes.
And I remember I was talking to Alfred Page. And you were with another publisher at that time, And he's like, "Hey man, here's Jonathan over here. He's got the #1 book out right now, The Recount." He was really hyping you up.
Yes, he was.
And I love that book, and I see over there, and we started talking and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We became friends on that day. So since then, we've been in contact here and there. We've run into each other at cons and stuff like that.
Right.
And on this particular day, you had mentioned something to me, and I think we talked about, let's say we had a conversation about a different publisher at that time. We were both saw the same writing on the wall. So I'll put together that. Yes. We're trying to be very politically correct here. So you had mentioned like, hey, you know, I'd really like to do something with Blackbox Comics. And he said, did you know anyone there? I said, sure, I do, because they're sponsors of the show. So I said, let me see what I can do. So I called Dimitri, like from the show, like I walked away, called him. I said, hey, you know, Jonathan's a friend of mine. He wrote one of my favorite books last year, The Recount. I just love it. And he asked me one question. He goes, do you vouch for him? And do you think he's good? I said, yeah, I think he's good. Wow. He's great. He goes, I'll talk to him. Give him my number.
Awesome.
And here we go. You're sitting here talking about Dream Master. So I've known about this book for so long.
Yes.
You know? And it was so long I've been wanting to talk about it.
Yeah.
Well, it's finally coming to fruition, you know, after over a year and all this stuff. And I'm so happy to see it happening for two guys. Dimitri's a friend of mine. You're a friend of mine.
Yes.
This book come together finally. It's an honor to kind of have just a little part in making it happen.
Yes.
Because it's not easy getting books out there, man. And
no, it's not. It's not.
And the more we get out there, the more we spread this comic book community or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's great. So I mean, I'm just here to kind of do my part. So I feel really good about it.
Yeah, it's a good.
But that's kind of the story. That's all.
Yeah. It was a good, you know, way to combine it all together. Yeah, and it's a true testament on how, like you said, the community works. You know, you have a creative, you know, a creator, a publisher, and you know, you know, with the YouTube show and everything. 3 different entities that make up how, you know, the comic book community, and a comic book came out of it. So you know, we all play a part. Yeah.
So everyone, get out there, Dream Master. Go tell your comic shop, get them when they come out. You know, you can always find Jonathan. You know, he'll be at all these cons. You can get him to sign this stuff. Most of my books I have from Jonathan are signed, which are pretty cool. So that's awesome. But I'm very excited to see the first arc, the first 5 issues, which is going to be a monthly title for the first 5. Right. You mentioned, is there a break after the first 5?
Yeah, I think there's going to be a break just with the speed of production. We'll probably need that break between the first 2 volumes, but I hope it won't be long. I'll make sure I'm doing everything on my end that we can get that second arc out just as quickly. But you know, we don't want to force it too. We want to make sure the art is up to the quality. So hopefully maybe in sometime in 2023, possibly. I don't want to set unrealistic dates, but yeah, things are moving that direction.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to it, and I hope everyone gets a chance to check out this book. It really helped independent publishers and creators like yourself, because it goes a long way. It's always nice to see something fresh, something new. You know, I mean, there's only so many Spider-Man stories to be told, but you know, with independent titles, it's new, it's fresh, it's new backstory, new everything, and that's why I like them. That's what appeals to me right now.
Thank you.
Let's switch gears and talk about the book that's right behind you with that poster. Kind of what, let's just say, it puts you on the map. Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
You had some books before, but this one puts you on the map. Okay, The Recount, and which is one of my favorites, and that's kind of what drew me to you, is that book itself. And I remember the first thing I asked you when I first met you, I said, is this political?
I get that a lot.
I'm like, dude, this is like the writings on the walls right here, you know? And every issue was a little bit more. You're like, no, it's not at all. And stuff like that. It's got to be a little bit, you know? But I love it. So let me ask you about this book. Can you kind of just give, I mean, most people know about this book already. It's been very popular. At times it's got some spec information behind it. You know, people are like, oh, you know, they get behind it, which is great. People are cosplaying as these characters and stuff like that. But just give me a rundown of that book and where you got the idea to do it.
Yeah, so the Recount is about a corrupt president who was found guilty of voter fraud and other crimes during his presidency. He,
Almost can't keep a straight face when you
I
say
know,
that.
I say it, it sounds like I'm just repeating headline news. But,
Oh, okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
it's okay. During this president's resignation speech to the public, he's assassinated by someone in his own Secret Service detail. And then quickly after that, the conspirators of that assassination, they come out to the public and say that they're not done yet. They're going to go after everyone who helped put that president into power. So the other politicians, the lobbyists, the donors, and including the voters as well. And they said they released the voting information to the public, and they encouraged the public to help them with that agenda. So it's a fast-paced Tom Clancy style story. I like to call it an anti-political thriller. So I never used the word Republican or Democrat in that. We took a lot of measures to make sure there wasn't anyone that looked like a real-life politician, things like that. And also, I wrote it in 2019. So, things, a lot of things happened after that. And sometimes, life imitates art. It's a very timely book. The issue 1 came out 1 week after the 2020 elections. So then January 6th happened between issue 1 and 2. So it just really bizarre the time that it came out in. But it is what it is. And as far as, my influence or, what drove me to write that, back in 2019, I was just so shocked at how people glamorize politicians, to the point where it was so obvious that some of these people were mistakes, but they were willing to die on that hill, yeah, I voted for you. I publicly showed that I was going to vote for this guy, and now he's a dirtbag, and it's obvious. But I'm still going to continue to support him and put that sign in my front yard and wear that shirt, wear that hat, have that bumper sticker, because I'm too embarrassed to admit that I was wrong.
Yeah.
So I thought, what if we were in a world where the voters were held responsible for the people we voted into office? So let's say you voted for someone, that person turned out to be a terrible person and damaged our country, sent people to war unnecessarily, did this or that, and you were held like as a criminal for helping them. You were an accomplice to that. So I started from that what if question, and I thought, just going to jail would be boring, but what if people were actually so butthurt, if you will, that people went out and killed them, and it wouldn't be that too far off, because so many people, like I said, they wear the target on their hat, on their shirt, in their front yard, on their car, and on social media, where anyone in the world can see it. So that's where the Recount came from, and then just went from there. I really liked focusing on the main character is the former vice president who's thrust into office, and she was on the ballot originally for this president as like the token female. She didn't have that political aspiration, but was, when someone asks you to be their running mate and you think they have a good chance, you kind of do it, in this fictional story. So now here she is, she's a target because, she was the vice president. Now she's trying to hold the country together when this like anarchy is ensuing and you can't trust anyone. So I thought that was a really interesting story to tell. And yeah, somehow people liked it. And like you said, you know, I humbly admit that it put me on the map. You know, I was able to sell some comics with that story.
That's awesome. So the team that you put together is a kind of an international team that helped you
Yes.
do this book with the art and everything.
Mm.
What was their take? You know, I mean, here you're an American. Okay, this
Yes.
the political climate in America is just all over the map. Okay,
Right.
and then you're presenting this story to an international team that's helping you do this. I mean, we're like, hey, man,
Right.
that might not be a good idea. You know, like, was there any hesitation? Is what I'm trying to get to.
Well, not necessarily hesitation, but two of the creators on the book, Gabriel Ibarra Nunez, who was the artist on issues 1 through 3, and the letterer Christian Dokolomansky, are both from Chile. And in 2019, 2020, there was a very in America, we didn't hear about it much, but there was this thing going on, these riots in Chile, where the government wasn't allowing their people to like access the internet, and you know, there was a huge fear state at the time, and they were sending me pictures and saying, "Look, the book that we're working on is coming to life here in Chile." I'm like, "Wow," you know. And both of them follow American politics very closely. As Christian said to me one time, it makes sense for other countries to follow American politics, because if you know, if America sneezes, the rest of the world will catch a cold. Is the you know, what Christian said to me, and I'm paraphrasing it, but that makes sense. So yeah, they were on board with it 100%.
Nice.
Yeah.
So this story isn't over, correct?
No. Earlier in the year, May, I put out a one-shot prequel called the Recount Preamble that gives a little more backstory to the cult leader of the masses, which are like the bad guys in Recount. And I'm working on the second volume called the Recount Second Term. I have the story. An artist has the first script, but you know, I hate to say it, but art is slowing down getting the second volume out, and I'm not going to just pump it out with you know, mediocre artwork. It needs to be done the right way. So it's going to take as long as it takes to get the second volume, but it's there. The story is there.
So looking at volume 1, and then, like I said, the political climate in the U.S. and now working on volume 2, any hesitation, or you know, it's you know, does that, I mean, you were in the military, correct?
Yes. Yeah. Army, 3 years. Yeah.
Okay. So is there any hesitation at all when you're working on volume 2? Because I mean, you see things, you know, life imitates art and stuff like that. I'm not saying that to that extreme, but you know, there are some similarities. You know, you can't deny that there aren't some similarities in our society. Like you said, you mentioned that, you know, people wear that, you know, on their chest. They wear the hat. They're dedicated, and like you said, it doesn't really matter what party it is. They just they go down with the ship. You know what I'm saying? No matter what. And very seldom do people jump ship, you know. And it's okay to jump ship. I'm just letting people know.
Yeah, you can jump ship.
We're all individuals, and we all say, you know what? Maybe that's not the right thing to do. So take a minute and just say that. But on the second volume, are you a little bit more aware, or are you just like, let's just do it? Let's gun ho and all.
I'm not hesitant to write the second volume, mainly because it's not going to be a carbon copy of the first one. It's the second volume, without giving too much away, is more of dealing with the aftermath of something like an event as the recount, and exploring what the country would look like afterwards. You know, a lot of people were found, you know, guilty of the crimes in volume 1, and either were killed or got caught, and we're gonna have a lot of gaps in our government. And how do we plug those holes back into, you know, our political infrastructure, and trust people once again. And what if there was a a contingency plan for that cult? And what if they had some international help as well? So we're going to explore that. It's not going to be, like I said, it's not going to just try to one up volume 1. I'm not writing it that way. I think it's going to really just, it's still going to be about mistrust. That I think in the theme of the entire recount is going to be mistrust in everything. And we'll just go from there. I think it's going to still be really entertaining and thought-provoking in the same way. Just, don't expect everyone to be wearing clown masks this time.
That's awesome. So the Recount, Volume 2, Scout Comics, correct?
Yep. Yes.
And I also want to say there's some wonderful variants for the Recount Volume 1 and the preamble. And I want to take a minute to mention a shop. And I just got the news just last week that they're closing their doors in December. And I believe it's, correct me if I'm wrong, Kingdom of Comics.
That's right. Yeah, Kingdom of Comics. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're in Florida. I had a chance to go visit the shop when I was in Florida a couple years ago. I was with my friend Tony. He bought a Hulk 181 when we were there and stuff. Yeah. And I know that's a shop that you've been to multiple times.
Yeah, I live behind that shop. My apartment complex is right behind it. I can walk there in 5 minutes. So it's.
Oh man, I'm sorry because I love that shop. They have a bar inside the shop, and it's high ceiling. It's like 20-foot ceilings.
Yeah,
I know they did an exclusive for you for the Recount and stuff like that. So I just want to tell them, thank you for sticking in there for as long as you guys did. And I really enjoyed the shop. I thought it was great. And the owners there, very nice people. And they stayed open like an extra hour for us, for Tony to make that purchase of that Hulk 181. So I just really enjoyed them. And I tried to help promote some of their exclusives and stuff that they did. So, we do end up losing comic shops and,
Yeah. It's never fun when a comic book shop has to shut its doors for whatever reason. And Kingdom of Comics were there when I first started, when I had my first, comic book that I self-published and was selling out of my backpack. They didn't hesitate to support me.
That's awesome.
And they've been there ever since. Jason and Paula, they're like family now. And it broke my heart when I saw that post, because it was like getting the rug swept out from underneath me. I've been blessed with the support from the brick and mortar stores. So I'm a huge proponent of supporting those small businesses. And I'll step in front of a moving bus for a store to stay in business if that's what it takes.
Well, do me a favor next time you see them, let them know that I'm thinking about. I sent them a message and stuff like that. And,
absolutely.
But really enjoyed my time there. I was only there for a few hours, but it's one of those shops, and I've been to so many shops throughout my travels. That one stuck out. That one was like, they had like that kind of brick wall. It's not really, I don't think it's real brick or whatnot,
No, but it
kind of looks like a castle. I mean, their bathrooms were so nice.
Yeah.
I was like, well, this is like a AAA bathroom right here. So
it's a comic book shop designed for you to stay there all day, and I have. I've hung out there from open to close many times, and it's not one of those shops where you have to like move a bunch of things out of the way. It's clean. Like you said, high ceilings. The bathrooms are accessible and clean. It's never been cluttered. There's a pizza shop right next to it. It's like, what else can you ask for?
Yeah. And unfortunately, we're losing it. But you know what? We got good memories, so I want to say
absolutely.
Thank you. Let's move on to another one of your books. That's kind of me and you've talked about this a little bit in the past, and there's one called Capable.
Yes.
And you put this one out yourself. You kickstarted it, or was it Kickstarter or
Kickstarter?
Yeah, Kickstarter, and you've been doing this one for a while. And this one is unique because, as a lot of you guys know who are watching, I have a handicap myself. I have a disability. It's a birth defect. I have cerebral palsy on the right side of my body, just pretty much right down the middle. So one side works really well, the other side not so much. But you know what? I'll tell you this: people who do have a disability, we actually do have a sense of humor about it.
Yes, yes.
And so we don't want people like feeling sorry for us. We actually can. One of my favorite comedians is Josh Blue, or I think I'm saying his name right. And he has cerebral palsy as well, and his whole act is about cerebral palsy, and it's just it's fun. We have a sense of humor about it. We're not, we don't need your pity or anything like that. But you did this book right here, Capable, and it's about people with handicaps and stuff. You want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah. So Capable, it's issue 1 was actually the second comic book I ever wrote. So it's near and dear to my heart because I've just finished crowdfunding issue 5 a few months ago. That table over here behind me is my workbench awaiting for the comics from the printer for me to start fulfilling those rewards. So in case anyone was wondering why I have this bizarre table behind me, I'm not a maniac. There's no Dexter situation going on. That's
sure. You got a dude in the clown mask behind you on the left and like an empty table on the right. Okay, buddy, we got you.
It all started to come together, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But Capable, it's a superhero series that I've been writing for a long time, and it's basically the theme is what if one day people with disabilities all of a sudden start to gain superpowers opposite of their handicap. So, for example, the main character, Derek, is a high school kid. He's been in a wheelchair for all of his life, and then he wakes up one day and he's a speedster. And we see him dealing with that while the rest of the world is also gaining powers, and some people aren't doing the right thing with it. So it's not one of those superhero stories where, he puts on a mask and then, he's has, a different identity. It's just people are living now in this world where the people we didn't expect to be superior are all of a sudden superior. And there's, it's not going to go as well as we thought it would. And things don't get better in Derek's life. He thinks that having use of his legs would have solved all his problems, but it only created more. So it's kind of borrowing from, Spider-Man's with great power comes great responsibility. But it's a lot of fun to write, especially, I'm self-publishing it, so I'm doing whatever I want with it. My editor, she also has cerebral palsy. So she's, been, she monitors the sensitivity and the accuracy throughout the scripts. I'm a proud parent of that book because I'm a big fan of books like Irredeemable by Mark Waid, which is essentially what if Superman snapped one day. I like that type of what if stories. The Boys, which is a lot of people are familiar with that now because the Amazon show, but the superhero story with a twist. So that's Capable, and I hope people it gets to more hands before we finish it.
What what can inspire you to do that? I mean, that's I've noticed you kind of have a trend. You don't your books don't really reflect who you are. Right. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Yeah, the characters are, a person with a disability, a lady. It's not you're not writing yourself into the book or your background or whatnot. So what kind of drew you to this type of thing?
I think with Capable, I was already I want to say desensitized or used to the handicap community, but I was exposed to it at a very early age because I had a speech impediment in elementary school, and I had weekly speech therapy classes, and a lot of kids with other disabilities were in those speech therapy classes with me. Some of them, had birth defects or Down syndrome, things like that. So at an early age, I was already already interacting with that community, I think a lot of people don't get exposure to those individuals because they're separated. You know, they go to different classes, different schools, work different jobs. So, you know, I didn't want to write Capable to stand on a soapbox for that community. I don't identify as a person with disabilities, but I wanted to tell a story that was for them that wasn't Disney, wasn't safe. You know, I put on all the covers for Capable that's for mature readers. People have picked up Capable and like, oh, you know, my 6-year-old son has a handicap. He would love this. I'm like, no, 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 that book's not for him. So yeah, it's a very adult story, but with you know, the think of it like as Teen Titans or X-Men, but more real, more grounded.
Yeah. Well, I remember me and you were chatting about this book one time, and then we were texting back and forth. And I said to you that for a person who has a disability, our superpower is just to be normal.
Yes.
That's the way I look at it. It's like, you know, my superpower would just have normal function of my limbs and stuff, not to be a speedster or something like that. Right. And I just kind of mentioned that to you because I think that's the way most people who have a disability kind of look at life, you know. Right. Yeah, we see Superman, we see Batman, we see Spider-Man, they're doing all these great things. Man, I just wish I was normal.
Yes.
And that's it. You know, that's all I'm asking for. Yeah. And but I think it's great that you're tackling that subject matter.
Thank you.
And I don't like it when people shy away from stuff like that.
Right.
I don't you know, growing up as a kid, you know, I was like trying to hide my disability and stuff like that and stuff. As I've gotten older, I'm like, no, that's not who I am. This is part of me. This is all I've known. I don't really try to hide it. It's there. I don't know any different. And when people tiptoe around it, it makes me frustrated because you don't need to. We're humans. We're out there. We're living in society. We're doing our thing. We're, you know, trying to make the best out of the situation. And, you know, that's the kind of way I look at it. So when I see a book like that and you tackling that subject matter, and when I see, like I mentioned, that comedian and he's tackling it as well, it's great. You know, I think it's stuff like that should be acknowledged and not kind of, like you said, separated in the background.
Right.
And trust me, when I was growing up, before I moved to the city, I lived out in a farm community, and I would go to class in the morning, and about 10 minutes into the class, another teacher would come get me out of class and take me to a separate room.
Yeah.
And I'd be in that room for the rest of the day. I'm like, what's going on? You know, and there's nothing wrong with my brain. At least I don't think so. Some people have told me differently, and they could be right. But it was just a physical disability, and maybe I couldn't move fast or, you know, pick up as much. But for some reason, society then was like, nope, you got to be separated.
Yeah.
And that really shouldn't be the case. So,
really
enjoy that book. Thank you
so
much for doing that and putting that out there. Is there more to that story as well? You said you just got done crowdfunding issue 5.
Issue 5, yep, and it will end at issue 7, and issue 7 is already penciled and inked. So I'm still waiting for colors to come back on issue 6, but issue 7 will wrap up this story. Is there more out there? There could be, but I really wanted to at least, as I'm getting busier and, you know, gratefully getting more opportunities in the comic book industry, I wanted to at least put a good ending to Capable while I still had the time. So that's why, like I said, issue 7, 6 and 7 already written, penciled, and inked, just waiting for the colors. So I'm hoping people will see the finale within a year.
And those will also be on Kickstarter to crowdfund those as well?
It should be. So Capable has had a rough time trying to find home with a publisher. You know, I was told by one publisher that I won't name that it's too hot of a topic. A white guy who's not disabled writing a book about handicapped people who become superpowers, and the main character is black. And I'm like, that's too hot of a topic? Brian Michael Bendis is a co-creator of Miles Morales, one of the half black, half Hispanic Spider-Man character that everyone loves. You know, So I don't think we should be in a place where we should be telling people you can't write that, or we're not going to publish that because you don't identify as the character that you're writing. You know, that's not where we should be in this world. So
a good writer is a good writer.
Exactly. Thank you.
And maybe if I want to take a minute and speak to you from the disability world, you have my permission, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you.
So have at it. Right. Well, but anyway, great book. I love that one as well. But let's talk about a few of the other books really fast. We can just kind of run down. I got a list here. I think this was your first book, Freak Show. Was that your first one?
Freak Show Princess. Yeah. So there's several Freak Show titles. But Freak Show Princess was my very first one. Yeah.
And that was in 2019?
I wrote it in 2019. I wrote it and produced it, and it's had a few other lives. It's been published in an anthology. It was combined with another Freak Show title and released by a publisher. So yeah, it's it grew some legs a couple times.
Another one you have is called Quicksand.
Quicksand, yes. Yeah, I love Quicksand. That's a really cool sci-fi thriller that I wrote. Elevator pitch, a hole near the pyramids in Egypt open up one day mysteriously. These monsters come out, they attack a nearby city, and then they run back into the hole. And then the world leaders are like, what was that? We can't let that happen again. They send like the 7 smartest people in the world down into that hole to research it, and those people never come back.
Yeah,
imagine that. So the story follows the wife of the team leader of the first team, and she is forming her own team to go down into the hole to get to perform a rescue mission when they already know it's already an unknown situation in the first place, but we can't just let those people die down there. Yeah. So really love Quicksand, and we should be seeing a lot more of it in 2023.
Very cool. Another one I got here is Space Cadet. You kind of dipped your hand into some younger readers there.
Yeah. Space Cadet, it was my first venture in the all ages genre. I would have to say, out of all my books that I've written, I identify most with Space Cadet. You know, I grew up here in near Cape Canaveral, Florida. I was born the day before the very first shuttle launch. I saw all the shuttle launches with my own eyes. Now I'm still here seeing rocket launches all the time. And I've seen how important the space industry is. And when it has its faults, and when it's not doing good, it hurts a community. So I wanted to do a story about someone who dreamed about going to the moon one day, like myself. And I wrote that, and the artist is Stefano Cardacelli, who is an amazing Italian artist, and he's killing it at multiple publishers right now. Space Cadet was his first all ages story. You know, he's known more for violent horror books, so he wanted to do something different too. It was a lot of fun. It's all one-page splashes too. So every book is like every page is a masterpiece in Space Cadet. So it's just a real fun story. I wanted something that kids could keep like on their nightstand, read it right before going to bed, and fall asleep with those dreams in their head.
And you know what, like you said, you know, growing up, you got to see all that stuff. Obviously, the shuttle program took a back seat over the last 3 years. So there's a lot of kids didn't realize, hey, we've been to the moon, you know, and in space. And now, luckily, they're bringing it back.
Yes.
And now they're testing more stuff. And hopefully, you know, the next step, maybe go back to the moon, and then who knows from there.
Mars, maybe, yeah.
That would be very cool. Hopefully in my lifetime. I'd love to see that. So.
Yeah, me too. That'd be great.
Here's another great one. Caffeinated Hearts. My love of coffee has got to be, you know, right there, man. So give me the little pitch on that one.
That's another one with Stefano Cardacelli. He did the amazing artwork on that book. That's the one that we did after Space Cadet. He just came up to me and said, "What's next?" And I said, well, let's do another genre that we haven't done before. And I wanted to dip my toes in slice of life. You know, there's a lot of slice of life is not, it's still getting more popular in comic books, but it's very popular in like the Japanese culture and like their manga and stuff. So him and I both like coffee.
Oh, you do?
Yes, I love coffee. Oh, you're being sarcastic. I love coffee, and so does he. And so I wanted to write a story that takes place one day in a coffee shop, and I wanted to tell 4 miniature stories within that single issue. So it's 4 vignettes interwoven by the barista that works at that coffee shop. And when I pitched the idea to Stefano, his only thing was it had to be have a cyberpunk setting. I was like, go for it. So, I mean, the cyberpunk part of it plays nothing into the story at all, but it just makes it look awesome. And it has this like really fantastical look to it. You know, there's one of the stories takes place in the drive-thru at that coffee shop, and all the cars fly. You know, not important to the story, but we can still identify to that story and what happens over those 4 pages.
Awesome. I want to give a quick shout out to our good friends, Comics on Coffee. I know you know who these people are.
Yes, good friends.
There's some really good people in Florida, I gotta tell you, man. So I mean,
yeah, we're not all bad.
So, but you know, they obviously did a bag of coffee with the Recount, which is awesome.
Yeah. Yes.
I've told them somebody's going to get that graded from season 2 with the coffee in it and everything.
It's just a matter of time.
Did they do a bag with caffeinated hearts, or did they do something with that one?
When I crowdfunded it, we did a 2-ounce sample bag with Stefano's art on it. So
very cool. Yeah, they're doing some really great things over there. And now they just are doing stuff with DC, which is just amazing. You know, to see this company, because I've been on board with them for a few years now, to see where they started and where they're at right now. It's just awesome. I love them to death. So, and unfortunately, they got hit hard with the hurricane over there, and they were good, but their whole town got wiped out. Yeah,
they're in Fort Myers, and Hurricane Ian really packed a punch in that area. So they bought a generator and kept on roasting coffee. Yeah. You know, so good on them. You know, they're not going to let some other nature stop them from doing what they love.
Yeah, they definitely have a passion for it. So love them, support them, go to their website, enter code Bueller, you save 10%, buy coffee, or buy whatever you want. They got new hats coming out,
hats, mugs,
and they got some Christmas specials, so go buy the Christmas special that they got going on. Also, they're on Amazon too. I want to point that out. You can get their coffee on Amazon and get Prime delivery and all that good stuff. Let's see, Hyper Aware. I'm not aware of this book. Well, I don't know. It's kind of funny, but anyway, tell me about this book, Hyper Aware.
Yeah, Hyper Aware kind of snuck it in there. That's from the same artist I work with on Quicksand, Deborah Lanchinese. She messaged me December of last year asking me for a comic book script so she could enter a contest in Italy, where she's from, and to win this drawing tablet that she wanted. That was the grand prize. And she said, Jonathan, I like your writing. We were still working on Quicksand, but she said, I need a script to enter this contest. I'll handle everything. You just write the script. So I already had the story of Hyperware in mind. And for those that are probably sick of me running my mouth right now, telling the backstory of how Hyperware became to be, it's about these 3 astronauts lost in deep space. And after their ship was pummeled by asteroids, their hypersleep chambers can only safely take 2 of them back home. So they are in this dilemma of who has to stay alive and run the ship while the other 2 get to sleep on the way home, which is going to take a lifetime. The person who stays awake is going to have to die on that ship of old age or whatever happens first. I already had that story in mind. When she told me she needed it and needed it quick to enter the contest in time to draw it and all the other factors, I sat down, wrote it, gave it to her in about 2 weeks. and then to turn it in on time, Deborah penciled it, inked it, colored it, and lettered it herself. And she had to translate my script from English to Italian to enter it into this contest because it had to be in Italian.
Yeah.
Then she won in the pro category and got that drawing tablet. So
Nice.
that was awesome. You know, that to me was kudos enough that I wrote the story that she won the contest for. And our deal was I could do whatever I wanted with it. So
Sure.
it didn't work in my crowdfunding plan for 2022. So I submitted it to SourcePoint Press.
Mm-hmm.
They accepted it, and it just coincidentally was released last month, a week before Caffeinated Hearts. Yeah. So I had back-to-back releases in October, which was really cool.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So I hit on a bunch of books. Is there anything I'm missing?
I'm sure. Well, in September, I was in, and I'm just to support the cause, I was in this awesome anthology called Lower Your Sights at Mad Cave Studios. Yeah, it was this benefit for the raised proceeds and awareness to children impacted by the war in Ukraine. I wrote a 6-page story that's loosely based off of my military experience. So please go pick up Lower Your Sights either from your LCS or Mad Cave's website, so it can be so the proceeds go into the right place. Yeah, I was honored to be asked to be part of that anthology. That was super cool, and yeah, that's where I want to be. I want to write stories that make me feel good, not just for profit.
Well, you've only been in the game for a few years. I mean, since 2019, you've done very well. I mean, you look at, I just listed a bunch of books that you've had come out.
Yeah,
people have had the opportunity to get and experience. And I'm hoping that Dream Master is another one that kind of takes off for you, just like the Recount kind of did.
Yes.
And there's no reason why it shouldn't, to be honest. If you're watching this video and you haven't ordered it yet, just go do it right now. You can go to blackboxcomics.net. You can do it there, or you can go to your comic shop and do it there. But let me ask you this: what phone call are you waiting for? You're in comics. You're doing all this great stuff. Your name is getting out there. You're at conventions. People are paying money to get your autograph. Dressing up like these characters that you imagine, all this stuff. You're highlighting all this stuff. What phone call is Jonathan waiting for?
Yeah, I'm waiting for that phone call that will let me work in comics full time. I still have to work my non-comic full-time job Monday through Friday, which I'm blessed for because it helps pay for these comics that I'm producing myself. But it is at the same time holding me back too. So, big two, company would be great, but it doesn't have to be that. It just needs to be enough where I can pay my rent, keep my lights on, feed, I like to eat. That's the phone call I'm waiting for. I can go on and fantasize about which projects, which companies, but I just want to be able to work in comics full time, and produce. I feel like I could do a lot more and get more out there if I had that extra, 40 hours in my days that was dedicated to comic books.
That's awesome. Well, I hope that phone call comes.
Thank
you. I have total confidence that it will come.
Thank you.
But since I have you here right now, I can't let you leave without addressing you're one half of probably the cutest comic couple in the industry. Okay. Yeah. I've seen the pictures. You guys are going to the movies, going on vacation and stuff. You, Francesca, correct?
Francesca.
I'm sorry, Francesca. Okay. She's the artist for Steak.
Yes, Francesca Fantini is my lovely wife. She's the cuter part of the house. She's a very talented artist. She is well known for Steak at Scout Comics. She also did a series at Aftershock called Artemis and the Assassin, which Stephanie Phillips wrote. Everyone knows Stephanie from Harley Quinn and all the other books she's done. And she's just super talented, and I hope one day her and I can collaborate on a book together. I wrote Francesca a one-shot So whenever she has the time in between paid gigs to draw it, that'd be, you know, fantastic. But in the meantime, I can just admire what she's doing and the commissions that people ask her for, the covers that she's doing. So yeah, really cool. It's really cool that, you know, this job led me to her in my life. You know, I wouldn't be married to her because of that. Not a bad thing.
That's a pretty cool perk there, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Any friendly competition between the two of you in the comic book industry at all?
No, we were very supportive of each other. We just want to see each other succeed. We try to share each other's social media posts and point people in each other's directions. No competition whatsoever. You know, I might have to sell 30 books to equal the one commission that she got, but you know, she's looking at like, wow, you sold 30 books. You know, that's awesome. You know, that's 30 people that wanted, you know, your work. I'm like, oh, that's a good point. She definitely is good at building me up when I beat myself down, like us writers typically do. We're our own worst critics. I learn a lot from Francesca.
That's awesome. Well, I had the chance to meet her, I think at MegaCon or something like that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
You guys were adorable. I was like, oh, give me a break, you know. But a friend of mine, Jonathan, he's probably gonna watch this later. He's a big fan of hers.
Okay.
He loves the steak books and stuff.
Yeah.
And we were actually just talking about her yesterday. We went out and had coffee and went to a comic shop and everything.
Nice.
And so anyway, I couldn't not mention her.
I appreciate it
with you being on here because you guys, like I said, I'm kind of a little I don't want to say stalkerish, but you guys do take good pictures together, you know.
Do. Yes.
And you guys look really happy, you know.
Thank you.
It's awesome to see that, you know. So and to share that with someone that you're married to and you're in the same industry, that's great. It is on the cake. So you guys can totally relate to each other.
Absolutely. Yep. And we're fans of the same comics. We enjoy doing comic book things. You know, it means we have a lot of similar tastes and interest too, outside of just working in the same industry as well.
Well, Jonathan, you know, I've had you here for about over an hour. We've talked about pretty much everything I can think of under the sun. I think that you got some events coming up. You want to let people know where you're going to be maybe in December at all?
Yeah, I'll be at Krampus Con in Merritt Island.
I'm sorry, what's that?
It's called Krampus Con. It's a Krampus, you know, like, you know, the evil thing. Yes, it's a new con in my area, so I hope people can come out to it. Admission's free. Look it up, Krampus Con, KON. And then I will be at Bat City Comic Professionals in Bradenton, Florida on December 10th. That's a really cool shop. They recently moved their locations from Texas to Florida. I'm really excited to go there because I've been following them for a long time, and they've been supportive for me. They're one of those non-profit comic book shops. So nice. Super excited to go to that side of the state and do a signing with them. So yeah, and I'm hoping to have some bigger cons in 2023 and see more people throughout the country.
Very much so. You're also on all sorts of social media. You're on Instagram, Facebook, all that good stuff. Twitter, I'm assuming, correct?
Yes. Yep.
And you have a website as well. You want to mention your website real fast?
Yes. Thank you. It's JonathanHedrickComics.com. Comics at, you know, COMICS, not with an X, comics.com. And you can go to my website first and you'll find links to the social media pages. I have a quick link to get to Blackbox's Dream Master books to pre-order, quick links to get to Scout's stuff to buy Recount and Space Cadet. So it's like, it should be like the one-stop shop for you. I list my signing events I'm going to be at. I have a web store where you can buy exclusive things. You can add on signatures with COAs. Just trying to, you know, people ask for the website. I gave them a website.
Awesome, man. Well, I'm excited for your future. Everyone who's watching right now, our goal is to get him the phone call that makes his dream come true. So if you're watching right now, if you know someone in the industry, give them a call, let them know that this is the guy. So that's what we want by 2024. That's the goal right there.
Yes.
I'll be parking my bus in this driveway saying, "I told you."
I hope so, Travis. That'd be great.
There you go. Well, Jonathan, thank you so much for being here with me. It's been a long time coming. I'm sure it's not going to be the only time I'll have you on here again. Good luck with the Dream Master. I'm looking forward to reading the rest of the story. If you guys aren't aware or watching, I actually have a credit in the book itself. It says Comics with Bueller special promotion provided by, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And you know what? And it's a very special book to me. Obviously, it's a very special book to Jonathan as well. So go check it out. But Jonathan, thank you once again for being here with us today.
Yes. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you everyone for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget to live your absolute best life. You know what to do. We'll see you next time. Bye.